I left my husband when I lost weight after we moved to Atlanta. I became so hot that the intense male attention I got destroyed my marriage. My name is Gemma, and if you've seen the previous video, you've probably heard my ex-husband's version of our story. Now, I'm here to tell mine. Before you judge me, please just listen till the end. Because no woman wakes up one morning and decides to throw away a good and loyal man. Sometimes it happens slowly. So slowly, you don't even notice you're losing something precious until it's gone. If someone had told me 3 years ago that the man who once held my hand through every hard day would one day look at me like a stranger, I'd have called them crazy. But that's exactly where I am now. Corey doesn't pick up my calls anymore. He doesn't even reply to my texts. He has moved on, quietly and gracefully, while I've spent months trying to explain what can't be undone. And the worst part? He's right not to take me back. I ruined everything after I got my so-called dream body. You know that feeling when you finally look in the mirror and love what you see? I had that. And I let it get to my head. I let the compliments, the attention, and the validation, all of it, convince me I was meant for more than the life we'd built together. And now, I'm the one replaying memories, not moments. I'm now realizing too late that peace will always be louder than applause. So before you call me selfish, or heartless, or any of the names I've already called myself 1,000 times, please listen till the end. Maybe then, you'll understand how easy it is to lose everything chasing what doesn't matter, and how hard it is to live with the silence that follows. Back then, life in Jackson was safe and predictable. We lived in a small, cozy house with beige curtains, a creaky porch swing, and neighbors who waved every time you drove by. The kind of town where everyone knew your name and nothing ever really changed. I worked the front desk at a local dental clinic, greeting the same patients every week, making small talk about weather and football games. Corey was a high school history teacher. He was loved by his students and respected by everyone. We weren't rich, but we were stable. We went to church on Sundays, groceries on Fridays, family dinners every other weekend. It sounds peaceful now, but back then, I called it boring. I'd scroll through social media and see women my age in cities like Dallas, Miami, Atlanta, traveling, dressing up, and living soft lives. Meanwhile, I was 42, nearly 180 pounds, stuck in a loop of wake, work, sleep. Corey loved me. I know that now more than ever. But his love was quiet. It was steady and gentle. And I'll admit something I'm not proud of, sometimes gentle starts to feel boring. He'd leave me notes on the fridge like, "Don't forget your lunch," or "Dinner's in the oven." But I craved something bigger, more passion, excitement, someone who'd look at me and see more than the routine version of myself. One evening, I sat on our porch after dinner. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and orange streaks, and Corey was inside grading papers. I remember whispering to myself, "Nothing ever happens in this town." That moment was small, but it planted something in me, a restless seed. Because deep down, I didn't want to just exist quietly. I wanted to feel alive. And I didn't realize it then, but that thought, that tiny whisper of dissatisfaction, would become the first crack in everything solid I ever had. It started after one of those quiet evenings when the silence between us felt heavier than usual. I remember looking in the mirror one night and barely recognizing the woman staring back. My clothes didn't fit right, my smile looked tired, and I felt invisible not just to the world but to myself. Corey was the one who first brought up the idea. "Maybe you should start going to the gym," he said gently, almost afraid I'd take it the wrong way. But I didn't. Something in his tone made me realize he wasn't criticizing. He was trying to help me find myself again. So we went. I got us both memberships. The first week, I could barely get through 10 minutes on the treadmill without wanting to cry. But Corey was right beside me, cheering me on, laughing with me, and reminding me that progress is steady. And slowly, things began to change. A few months in, I started seeing results. My clothes fit differently. People at work started saying things like, "Gemma, you're glowing." And for the first time in years, I believed them. Corey noticed too. We started flirting again, real flirting, the kind we hadn't done since our 20s. He'd wrap his arms around me in the kitchen while I cooked, kiss my neck, whisper that I was beautiful. And I loved it. I really did. But somewhere along the line, that pride in myself, that new confidence, turned into something else. I started buying new clothes, posting little mirror selfies online. And every like, every comment, every wow, you look amazing. It fed something inside me. I felt alive again. The opportunity came just when I thought life couldn't surprise me anymore. A marketing firm in Atlanta had found my resume online and reached out about a front desk position with room to grow. It wasn't a dream job, but it was new. Something that looked like movement after years of standing still. I remember rushing home to tell Corey. He was sitting at the dining table, grading papers, his glasses sliding down his nose like always. I stood by the door, breathless, saying, "Babe, you won't believe this. A company in Atlanta just called me." He looked up, that slow, warm smile forming. "Atlanta?" he repeated, leaning back. "That's a big move, Jem." There was excitement in his voice, but also that hint of concern, the kind that says, "I'm happy for you, but are we ready for this?" He glanced around the room, our little Jackson home filled with memories and worn furniture, then back at me. "We've only ever known this town," he said softly. "You sure about leaving all this behind?" And I said the words that would define everything that followed. "We can't grow staying comfortable, Corey. Don't you want more than this?" He smiled again, this time a little sadly. "Yeah," he said, "I do. And if this is what you really want, we'll make it work." That's how we ended up packing our lives into boxes and driving 6 hours east, leaving behind quiet nights, familiar faces, and the comfort of a world that never changed. The first night in Atlanta felt like stepping into another universe. The skyline shimmered like it was alive. Traffic roared beneath our apartment window. Everywhere, people were moving, as if chasing dreams. Chasing something. I couldn't stop staring. The city pulsed with energy, bright lights, rooftop music, endless motion. It was intoxicating. Back in Jackson, everyone knew us as the Thompsons, the quiet couple who always showed up together, the ones who never made a scene. But in Atlanta, nobody knew me. Nobody knew my history, my insecurities, or even my past weight or small-town routines. It felt like a rebirth. I joined a luxury gym a few blocks away. It had marble floors, glass walls, women who looked like influencers, men who looked like they lived in fitness commercials. At work, my new coworkers invited me to rooftop brunches, art shows, and happy hours. And I said yes to everything. Every compliment, every wow, "You look amazing," made me feel alive in a way Jackson never had. My confidence bloomed. People started noticing me, really noticing me. At home, Corey was still the same, calm, grounded, and steady. He'd ask about my day, and I'd give short answers while scrolling through messages I shouldn't have cared about. He'd wait up for me when I stayed late after work events, sometimes with dinner that's gone cold. I told myself he didn't understand the city life, that he was too simple. But the truth was, I'd started resenting that stillness. The same man who once made me feel safe now made me feel stuck. I started posting more photos, new outfits, gym progress, fancy brunch spots. And when friends back in Jackson commented, "Where's Corey?" I'd ignore it. Because in Atlanta, I wasn't somebody's wife. I was Gemma 2.0. Every day offered a new distraction. There was always another event, another admirer, and another chance to feel desired. And every time I told myself it was harmless, I was just having fun. But I know better now. Every compliment, every like, every late night out pulled me a little further from home. A little further from the man who cheered for me the loudest when I said I wanted more. I thought I was stepping into a bigger world. But really, I was just walking away from the only world that ever truly loved me. It didn't happen all at once. The distance between us grew in quiet, invisible inches. One night he'd ask what time I was coming home. The next he'd ask who I was with. And every time, I'd hear accusations where there was only concern. "Corey, I'm not doing anything wrong," I'd snap. "I'm just trying to live a little." But he'd just nod, slow and calm like always, and say, "I just miss you, Jem." And that's what made it worse. He wasn't angry. He was patient. And I hated that patience because it made me feel guilty when I wanted to feel free. The fights got louder. He'd say, "You don't come to church anymore." I'd say, "You don't understand my schedule." He'd say, "You've changed." And I'd fire back, "Maybe that's the problem, you haven't." I told myself he was being controlling, that he couldn't handle the new me, the confident, social, independent woman I'd become. But deep down, I knew it wasn't control he wanted. It was connection. And I was knowingly depriving him of that. At work parties, there was always someone new to talk to. Coworkers who complimented my dress, laughed at my jokes, and made me feel like I still had it. One guy in particular, tall and charming, always knew the right thing to say, started flirting with me one evening at a networking mixer. I flirted back. Not because I wanted him, but because I wanted to prove something to myself. "It's harmless," I told my reflection later that night. "Every woman likes to be noticed." But the truth is, it wasn't harmless, it was hunger. The kind of hunger that feeds on validation until you mistake it for love. I started comparing Corey to those flashy city men, their clothes, their drive, their way of commanding a room. Corey was simple and a bit predictable, and I convinced myself that love like his was too small for the woman I was becoming. One night, lying in bed beside him, I had a thought I still regret. I think love is holding me back from becoming who I could be. That thought was the quietest betrayal of all. When he suggested counseling, I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the idea felt pointless. "We're fine," I told him. But we weren't. We stopped touching, stopped talking to each other. The silence between us grew thicker than any argument could ever be. Then one evening, I came home to an empty house. His clothes were gone. His favorite coffee mug, the one that said, "World's okayest teacher," missing from the counter. And on the table, a single note in his handwriting. "I hope you find whatever it is you're chasing." I stood there for a long time, staring at that note. It stung a little, but after a while, instead of crying, I exhaled. I told myself it was space, that we both needed time apart. But the truth? I was relieved. Relieved that I could breathe without guilt. Relieved that I could go out without feeling watched. Relieved, and I hate admitting that. Because looking back now, that relief wasn't freedom. It was the sound of my marriage quietly dying and me being too proud to save it. The first few months after Corey left were eerily quiet. No sound of keys jingling at the door. No hum of his old classroom laptop. No soft voice asking, "You hungry?" Just silence, the kind that wraps around you at night and makes your thoughts sound louder. I told everyone I was fine. At work, I smiled through every meeting. At the gym, I double my sessions, drown the ache in treadmill miles and protein shakes. When people asked about Corey, I said we were figuring things out. But deep down, I knew the figuring out was over. That's when Malik showed up. He wasn't subtle, he never had to be. He came into the marketing firm as a client one afternoon, all confidence and cologne, wearing a tailored suit and that easy grin that told you he knew exactly how good he looked. He called me beautiful within 10 minutes of conversation, and for the first time in months, I didn't correct him. We started seeing each other after work. Drinks turned into dinners. Dinners turned into weekends. Malik was everything Corey wasn't: flashy, ambitious, loud, alive. He drove a silver Benz that gleamed like it never saw rain, wore designer watches, and knew everyone worth knowing in the city. He made me feel desired again. "Every year stunning," and "you deserve better," poured over the cracks in my ego like honey. And even though I wasn't naive, I knew men like him said all the right things to get what they wanted. I didn't seem to mind. Because for once, I was the one being chased. We started posting photos together. Rooftop dates, brunches, vacations. The likes rolled in, people from Jackson noticed, even mutual friends of Corey's. Some congratulated me. Some probably pitted him. Either way, I told myself it was proof that I'd leveled up. Then one day, the divorce papers came. His handwriting on the envelope hit harder than I expected. I placed it on the counter and left it there for weeks. Part of me wanted to believe that if I didn't sign, some invisible thread would still tie us together. But another part, the louder one, whispered, "You've moved on. Stop pretending." So I delayed. I told my friends, "It's just paperwork." But deep down it wasn't. It was a mirror, and I didn't want to face what was staring back. Eventually, after Malik suggested we move in together, I decided to sign them. No hesitation this time. I told myself it symbolized a new chapter, a stable one. A partnership that matched my new lifestyle. Luxury over loyalty, adventure over quiet love. Moving in with Malik felt like validation, new apartment, new furniture, new version of me. He called me queen, and I ate it up like oxygen. I convinced myself I was finally living, that this was what all that pain, all that growth, was leading to. But what I didn't realize was that I hadn't healed at all. I'd just replaced love with something else. At first, everything with Malik felt like a dream, the kind that's too good to be real. But dreams have a way of fading once the lights come on. He started pulling away little by little. Late nights became normal. His phone, once face up on the table, now stayed face down, always locked, always buzzing. He'd smile and say, "It's just business, baby," and I'd pretend to believe him. But deep down, I knew. The truth came crashing one night when a message popped up on his tablet while he was in the shower. Different woman. Different tone. Same lies. And suddenly, everything made sense. The distance, the defensiveness, anytime I called him out on something he did that felt sus. I didn't even cry at first. I just sat there, staring at the wall, hearing my own thoughts whisper. I packed my bags, left the apartment we shared, and got a small place back on the quieter side of town. For a while, I tried to fill the silence with new faces. A string of men, handsome, charming, funny, but shallow as puddles. Every date felt the same. Dinner, same empty compliments, flirting, and the unspoken expectation of something more. None of them asked about my dreams or my work. None of them wanted to know me. They just wanted my body, my attention, my energy. One guy even managed to outdo them all. We dated a few weeks before I found out he was basically homeless, couch hopping from woman to woman. He'd hinted about moving in, letting me handle the bills while he got back on his feet. That was when my inner black girl survival sense kicked in hard. I told him, "Boy, if you don't get your dusty self out my house," and that was that. After he left, I sat in my living room surrounded by silence, the kind that doesn't comfort, only exposes you. And, out of nowhere, Corey came to mind. The man who never asked for more than honesty. The man who cooked dinner when I was too tired, who cheered me on at the gym before anyone else noticed me. I looked him up online. He looked happy, peaceful, not flaunting anything, not bitter, not performing. He was just living. And that haunted me. Because while I was out here trying to prove I'd leveled up, he'd actually done it, not with money or attention, but with peace. That night, I poured myself a drink, maybe two, and sat with my phone in my hand for nearly an hour, staring at his name. I wasn't sure what I even wanted to say. Part of me just wanted to hear his voice, to remind myself that something real once existed. So I took a deep breath, dialed the number, and whispered to myself, I didn't want him back because I was alone. I wanted him back because he was home, and I'd burned it down. The night I decided to call Corey, it rained. Not heavy, just that slow, steady drizzle that makes the world feel smaller. I sat by my window with a glass of wine, phone in hand, heart pounding like it was trying to convince me not to do it. I'd rehearsed it in my head so many times, what I'd say, how I'd sound casual, how I'd pretend I was just checking in. But when he actually answered, every word I'd practiced scattered like dust. Hey, it's me," I stammered. There was a pause. Then his voice, calm, measured. "Gemma." Hearing my name from his mouth after 2 years, it hit different. I could tell he wasn't angry, but he wasn't warm either. Just polite and distant. We made small talk for a few seconds, the weather, work, nonsense. Then he asked, "What do you really want, Gemma?" That question sat heavy between us. I couldn't lie. Not anymore. "I just want to see you."
Can we talk?
He was quiet again, then said, "All right. Name the place." I spent the next morning pacing my apartment, trying to decide what to wear. Part of me wanted to look put together, to show him I was doing fine, that I hadn't completely fallen apart. But another part wanted to look humble, soft, like someone who'd learned their lesson. I settled on a simple beige sweater, jeans, and light makeup.
Clean.
Understated. No perfume. I wanted him to see the real me, not the version that Atlanta built and broke. On the drive there, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. My mind kept replaying everything. The dinners I missed, the arguments I caused, the way he'd looked at me before he stopped looking at me altogether. I kept asking myself, what if he doesn't even care anymore? The cafe was quiet, tucked in a corner of Midtown, warm lighting, faint jazz in the background. And there he was.
Corey.
Same broad shoulders, same calm presence, but different. He looked lighter, more confident, like peace had been working out for him. He saw me before I waved, stood up out of courtesy, and smiled faintly. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I managed, voice trembling. We sat down. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Just the sound of spoons clinking against coffee cups around us. "You look good," I said. He nodded. "Thanks. You too." That was it. 2 years of silence reduced to polite words. I tried to break the tension. "I've been thinking about you a lot." He looked at me, expression unreadable. "About us or about what happened?" I swallowed hard. "Both." He leaned back, arms crossed, calm, detached. "So, what's this about, Gemma?" I hesitated, then he whispered, "It's Malik, right? He cheated? You found out he has a wife." The air left my lungs. He didn't even sound cruel when he said it, just sure. And at that moment, I felt naked. Exposed. "You're right to gloat if you want," I said softly. "I deserve it. But one thing I've learned, no one's above character development." My voice cracked. "I thought I'd found myself, Corey. But I only lost everything that mattered." He didn't interrupt, just stared, listening. So I kept going, words tumbling out like a confession. I thought attention meant love. I thought excitement meant happiness. But all it gave me was noise. I miss peace. I miss us. I miss you. Tears burned behind my eyes as I reached for his hand. "I'll pay any price, suffer any punishment. Just let me try again."
Please.
"I know I don't deserve it, but if you could just..." He pulled his hand back gently, but firmly. "Gemma," he said quietly, "I'm not your husband anymore." The words sliced through me. He continued, voice calm, but hard now. "You put me through hell just to feed your ego. And now, after you've been out there in the streets, you want to come back because the noise got too loud." I opened my mouth to respond, but he didn't let me. "You think you can eat your cake and have it too? You've been out there, and now you realize there's nothing there. The streets don't love nobody, Gemma." That line, I'll never forget it. It wasn't loud, maybe a bit cruel, but it felt final. I broke then, tears falling, my voice shaking as I tried to speak, but no words came. He stood, placed a few dollars under his coffee cup, and said quietly, "I hope you find peace." Then he walked out. I sat there for a long time, unable to move. The barista asked if I was okay. I nodded, even though I wasn't. I don't think I've ever felt smaller or emptier. As I finally stepped outside, the city noise swallowed me whole. And somewhere between the sound of cars and the weight of my own heartbeat, I realized something. Forgiveness doesn't always come with a welcome mat. Sometimes, it just comes with a door that never opens again. It's been months since that day at the cafe. I haven't seen Corey since, and maybe that's for the best. These days, life looks quieter, not lonely, just still. I go to therapy now. Turns out, I wasn't addicted to attention or admiration. I was addicted to validation. The need to be seen, to feel worthy, to prove something to myself that love had already given me for free. My therapist called it a self-esteem wound. I called it the reason I burned down my own home. I've been rebuilding piece by piece, going to work, keeping my head low, learning to love myself without needing a crowd to clap for it. Some nights, I scroll past Corey's profile, nothing flashy, no clues about his life. Maybe he's dating. Maybe he's married. Maybe he's just happy. He's always been private, and I respect that. The truth is, I don't wish him back anymore. I just wish I'd valued him when I had him. At times, I wish we didn't make that move from Jackson. Although I think it wasn't Atlanta that broke my marriage, pride did. Pride, ego, and the lie that excitement is worth more than loyalty. I've learned that love doesn't die from boredom or distance. It dies where gratitude ends. I wanted applause more than peace. And by the time the clapping stopped, I had no one left to come home to. Now, I find peace in small things, watering my plants, journaling after work, walking without checking who's watching. I'm not perfect, but I'm growing. And sometimes growth doesn't look like success. It looks like silence, reflection, and learning not to ruin what's good just because it feels too quiet. So that's it. My own side of the story. If you're still holding on to someone who loves you quietly, don't make them compete with noise. Because when the noise fades, you'll realize silence doesn't love back. And if stories like mine make you think twice, please do subscribe. Because those who fear honesty usually already made my mistake.